Hi, welcome to the Coaching System Deep Dive, where we are going deeper into the coaching system assessment. If you are watching this video, it means that you registered for our fall workshop series where we're going deeper into each of the sections of the assessment. And you should have already received a copy of the coaching system assessment. But if for some reason you do not have it, please reach out. I certainly want to make sure that you have access to the resource, which you can also grab for free from my website at lindaryanconsulting.com. I am Linda. I'm the owner of Linda Ryan Consulting, and I am the creator of this resource. So let's dive in. Today, our focus is going to be on the people indicators of this assessment. Our agenda for today, I am going to introduce the tool and some of the directions, just in case this is your first opportunity to be working with the coaching system assessment. And then we'll walk through each indicator of the people section. In the live version, leaving time for questions. Because this is a recording, I welcome questions via email. Please feel free to reach out if something feels confusing or you find yourself wanting to clarify something that I explained. I'll close by sharing our process and share a thank you as well. So I certainly applaud you for thinking through coaching at a systems level. Oftentimes, our work in education happens in silos, whether we want it to or not. And there are so many pieces to the puzzle that we need to be working together and working in tandem to bring this work forward. So today we're going to focus on people, but know that it also takes thinking through the indicators in the process section, product section, and culture section to have a systematic approach to coaching that is setting you up for success. In the assessment, it is set up like a Likert scale. So there's indicators on the left side, and then there is a place to kind of, do your assessment of where do you think you're falling. Something I just want to make note of is that along the Likert scale, the descriptions of each of the numbers that you would assign, the descriptions will change because it will be dependent on the indicator that we are assessing as to what the description best matches the rating of a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being, the highest and 1 being the lowest. All right, let's dive into some of the indicators. So the first one is that the coaching role is clearly defined. There is a reason that this is first, because if we don't have this to start, then nothing about the coaching role is clear for either the coach or the people that they're serving or the people that are evaluating the coach in their job. What's interesting is if you go online and you search for a definition of instructional coaching, even our industry leaders, right? The people who have published the books, you think of instructional coaching and their name pops up, they all define the role and the work of a coach differently. And I think that is because context matters. The way that a system, school or district needs a coach to function is going to vary based on how the coach's role is being implemented and based on the specific community that they are serving. If they are a content-specific coach, for example, they will function very differently than a coach who is focused generally on instruction. If they are focused on instructional technology, right, their focus is going to be very different in terms of the type of support that they provide than a literacy coach. And so all of that matters in terms of how their role is going to play out, which is why it's important that for each coaching role that is being created, that we are clear on how exactly are we defining this role. Doing so is going to create clarity and offer an opportunity for success for both the coach and the people that they coach. When we can get really clear on who is the coach, what are they expected to do, then the coach knows their actions have to align to that. And the people that they support know what to expect of their coach as well. It's almost like, give me some examples and non-examples for this definition, right? So the main question is, for this definition, does it answer the question, what do coaches do here? And notice that I said do here, right? A side-by-side district to another partner district, right, may not have the same definition, and that's okay. It's okay for it to be unique to your specific situation. The next indicator takes this a little bit further, okay? Because once we have a definition in place, which is great, by the way, if you do, we need to ensure that other people involved in the system can explain this coach's role. There is a difference between knowing something and understanding something. And this is true for both the coach and the people that they serve. So let's say that the coach understands their definition, right? They're going to start asking themselves, are my actions aligned to what this definition says my role is? And then what we need to know is, how is that landing on the people that they serve? Do leaders understand? Do leaders, the others, right? The others, they're in the others. Can they explain the coach's role? And are they ensuring that the barriers are removed to allow the coach to play out those roles and expectations? It's important for us to consider the impact of our actions, right? So we have to be asking the people that we serve, how are we doing here? Are we making sure that what I set out to do as an instructional coach, what I think I should be doing based on the definition, are we seeing evidence of that? Can you see evidence of that and therefore explain if somebody says, well, what do coaches do here? And a teacher's explanation of it generally matches the definition, but then we have alignment. But if there is misalignment or the explanation is unclear, then it might mean we have some work to do about how we're carrying out the actions of that definition, which is why having a clear explanation across our culture of coaching is going to give us really helpful feedback on our purpose and the alignment of our work in terms of the implementation of that definition. The next indicator is about the coach to teacher caseload. This is subjective on purpose because there is a lot at stake and a lot at play when it comes to whether a coach to teacher caseload is considered manageable, okay? So this is really going to depend on who is taking this assessment, who the coach is, and who the teachers or the people that they serve, who they are. So when we think about it, right, we have to consider, does the coaching system or the system that the coach finds themselves in, are there coaching cycle expectations? I have seen districts that expect coaches to conduct a 4-week coaching cycle, a 6-week coaching cycle. If there are expectations with quantifiable numbers like that, then that will impact the number of people that a coach can serve while also meeting that expectation. So we have to really consider, for example, how many people can a coach serve during a day when they are in a 6-week cycle? So all of that factors into what is actually realistic for a coach with their caseload. Something else to consider too is, what is the coach's experience level? We know that when we are novice at something, everything we do takes longer. And so if the coach is novice or new to their role, then they need time, they need a longer amount of time, a longer runway in terms of their interactions with people, their prep sessions for their coaching conversations, as well as considering how often they're going to be able to get into somebody's classroom or be able to meet with them. So experience level matters in terms of the amount of time it's going to take for a coach to process and be prepared for the work that they're doing. On the flip side of that, we also need to consider, what are the teacher needs, or the people that they're serving, what are their needs? Is it a very high level? Do they have a caseload where everybody is on fire? and everybody needs a high level and a high frequency of support. If that's the case, it's going to be difficult for the coach to do, number one, to do much else, as well as serve all of those needs if they have a high number of teachers to serve on their caseload. So we have to consider, are we offering coaches a balanced caseload of support where maybe there are varied needs on their caseload, and a coach is able to then prioritize who are they supporting, and who are we getting to first? Who needs a higher frequency of support? Who might need a quality time with a smaller dose of support, right? Or smaller types of check-ins or touch points along the way in order for them to continue to grow. All of that matters, and all of that will impact whether the caseload itself is manageable. The other thing to consider is the location and schedules that impact what the coach's experience is when they're interacting with the people that they serve. If a coach, for example, is located in one school building, then their location may not have as high of an impact, but the schedules of teachers that they support will have an impact, especially if, for example, they are serving more than one person on a grade level and everybody has the same planning time. If we're not considering how often a coach can get into classrooms or meet with teachers, right, that will impact the amount of coaching time that they have. And might actually then make the coach be asking the teacher to give up personal time in order to be coached and to participate in coaching, which is not always what we want. If a coach is serving multiple locations or multiple buildings, then travel time is a factor. There are only so many buildings and teachers that a coach can get into, and master schedules at different schools the people that they're supporting might actually be teaching the subject that they need to come and visit and work with the teacher at the same time. And so getting really clear on knowing the lay of the land, right? Like, who are my people? What is my experience level? Where do I need to be? And what is my schedule? And then getting really clear on what is my capacity in how it supports the needs that we are seeing, and in the environment that I find myself in is going to impact whether we find this caseload manageable. Something else to consider when we're thinking about the people in our coaching system are the coaches. I am a big believer in asking the question of who is coaching the coaches, right? Because if we believe in the power of coaching, because we've hired a group of coaches, or we've hired one coach in our system, then we have to ensure that we are also offering a cycle of feedback and support for our coaches so that they can benefit from that experience themselves and grow as a professional as well. And so we want to give coaches their own cycle of support. And also, that helps build some of their credibility with the people that they support when they can say, like, oh, yeah, I was working with my coach, or I was working with my colleague on improving this. It helps all of us level that playing field of saying, you know what, like, we're all working on something here and we can all benefit from a cycle of feedback and support. There are multiple ways that a coach can be offered that feedback. Of course, there's going to be evaluation opportunities, right? And there's time for feedback through evaluation opportunities. We might set up some coaching cycles in a formal cycle of support, right? Where we hire somebody or we identify someone within our coaching system who serves as the coach of coaches. There's also some opportunities to develop some peer coaching here. If there are other instructional coaches in your coaching system, there's a chance to partner up some coaches and create some protocols that allow them time to come together and evaluate each other's practice, offering the opportunity to grow, right? So, whether it's recording a coaching conversation or sharing a script or feedback prep document, they can ask their colleagues for support and say, hey, how do you think this is going to go? Do you have any feedback for me? So we also want to include feedback cycles from the teachers that coaches support or the people that they serve. I find it so interesting that when coaches are often doing their work, they don't actually ask the people that they serve to give them feedback on the job that they've done. We often see coaches kind of assuming that they've been helpful, assuming that they have had the impact that they sought to have, when in fact the people that they serve are never given the chance to offer any of that kind of feedback. So it can be really helpful to either end a coaching conversation with an opportunity to hear from a teacher and say like, hey, how did this go for you? Is there anything you'd like me to change the next time that we meet? Right? Whether it's the end of a conversation or the end of a coaching cycle, like getting some of that feedback from a teacher can really inform coaches on what type of work that they're doing and how might they improve their own approach as a coach. And then obviously there are opportunities for self-reflection. If there are any kinds of standards of practice that you are referencing when you're thinking about what good coaching looks like, giving coaches the opportunity to reflect, to journal, or to even engage in their own analysis of their work, whether that's recording themselves and doing some analysis based on questions. Those are all opportunities for feedback that's going to help a coach grow in their work. We also want coaches to bring successful classroom experience to support their advice. Now, that's not to say that everything a coach does is offering advice. However, we do want to make sure that coaches have had time to grow as a professional, and we know that teaching well takes time and experience. Most new teacher or beginning teacher programs last 2 to 3 years, right? So we want to make sure that the people we are hiring as coaches have had time to develop some of that experience and practice that teaching requires. We also want to make sure that coaches can be relatable in terms of having that shared experience and shared understanding of what it's like to be in the classroom and all that it entails. Teaching is a really, really challenging job. And if coaches are often leaning on theory rather than practical and realistic recommendations, a lot of times their coaching support is going to fall short. And so we want to make sure that coaches can, even when they have moved out of the classroom, that they can stay grounded in what it is to be the teacher in a classroom and all of the responsibilities that come along with being the leader of a classroom. We also want to consider whether coaches were successful themselves in the classroom, because so often we think about our own experiences that are going to inform any kind of support or recommendations that we might make. We want to ensure that the folks who are offering those recommendations were successful with them. Or that they are grounded in research and they are able to partner alongside a teacher in giving them a go. So we certainly want to make sure that it's not just that somebody was in the classroom long enough, but they had some of that effective or successful experience in order to offer the people that they serve in this coaching role. We also want to consider the fact that coaching means that we are working with humans and we are humans ourselves, which means that we can't ignore that emotions are going to play some sort of role in the work that we do. Now, that's not to say that we would serve as a therapist, right? That most instructional coaches don't have that kind of background and are not equipped to support that level of need. However, we do want our coaches to have high emotional intelligence so that they can perceive other emotions in the humans that they are serving, as well as consider how they are regulating their own emotions while they're in what can sometimes be a crucial or more challenging conversation, depending on the content of what needs to be discussed. And so, no, we have to be able to recognize how do we move through emotions alongside someone else and support them when those emotions might feel difficult. And so when coaches have a higher level of emotional intelligence, they are better able to read the room. And then they can bring that empathetic lens to their coaching conversations. We would never want a coach to move forward with a coaching conversation if a teacher enters the conversation with their blood pressure already high or experiencing a high level of anxiety about a situation that may have occurred prior to the coaching conversation. All of that to say, coaches, instructional coaches, are really meant to maintain a focus on instructional support. So this is where we can be resource finders and resource providers as well. If we have high emotional intelligence and we recognize that the person we're serving is in need of more support than we're able to offer, this is an opportunity for us to connect that individual with the supports available to us while also maintaining that focus on instruction. So it might mean that it's the opportunity to provide a circle back moment and plan to discuss something at a later time, or identify and have a frank conversation and say, hey, this is what I planned to discuss today. You let me know if you think we can move forward with it, right? Put that timer on the venting sessions, right? Sometimes we just need to let out those emotions in a safe place. But we also don't want that to be the focus of our conversations either. So a coach with a high emotional intelligence is able to regulate how the emotions show up in that conversation while still maintaining that focus on instructional support. And then lastly, we do know that building trusting relationships in coaching is important. And so one thing that we need to keep in mind is how are we maintaining a teacher's confidence via confidentiality, right? We want to make sure that the person that we are working with can trust us as a safe space where they can speak frankly or speak in first draft language, right? And not have to worry about how something is going to come back to them after a conversation. So we want to make sure that coaches avoid gossiping and do not find themselves disclosing sensitive information. However, there are going to be times in coaching conversations when that full confidentiality is not possible. There can be things that come up that a supervisor, for example, might need to be aware of. Whether that is something personal about the teacher that needs to be shared or something related to their instruction, right? So in the cases where that confidentiality is not possible, I think it's important to maintain the integrity of confidentiality by offering transparency. Whether that is prompting the teacher and practicing how they are going to approach the supervisor and share this information, especially if it's something personal like that. It's okay for a coach to say, that's something that our supervisor might really need to know. How about we practice talking to them about it? I recognize that might feel hard for you, right? So that is a chance to kind of push the individual to share important information. But also, if the coach finds himself in a position where they do have to share some information with a supervisor, evaluator, et cetera, it's helpful if they can maintain transparency and say, hey, that's something that I think I might need to share. Are you comfortable with me saying, and then actually practicing with the person, what am I going to say, right, to the supervisor? This can also be done by maintaining notes of coaching conversations that both the teacher or the people that we serve and the coach know is shared with a supervisor, right? Like there's no secrets here. And really, when it comes to instruction, I think we know in schools and districts that supervisors need to have a pulse on what's happening instructionally. And if coaches are the people who are a little bit closer to that at times, then it makes sense that there would be conversations about and maybe celebrations about like, here's what's happening instructionally, and here's what we can be really proud of. So all that to say, right, while we want to maintain confidentiality as much as possible, when that is not possible, we can lean on transparency in order for us to maintain the integrity of that trusting relationship. Okay, so if you are completing the assessment and you have completed the people section, now that we've kind of walked through those indicators at a deeper level, you can use the take action section of the assessment to just think about this people section. What are some of the areas of strength? And what are some areas of opportunity? And how might those inform near-term or long-term actions for you and your team in thinking about the people in your coaching system? When we use this tool at Linda Ryan Consulting, we want to we use it to kind of objectively review your system. It's always helpful to have a lay of the land and really understand, like, where are we right now in our coaching system so that we can identify some actions that we might want to take in order to increase the opportunity for success with our coaching system. And so we review materials and tangible items, but especially for this people section, we would conduct focus groups with teachers that have participated in coaching experiences, teachers who maybe, if it is an opt-in, who haven't participated in coaching experiences and have the opportunity to invite both parties to be at the table and explain and answer some questions about these indicators. We, of course, would want to include coaches and leaders so that we can better inform the results of the review. And then once we conduct it for all of the sections, then we would turn it into a comprehensive report with some highlights, some considerations, and opportunities in a comprehensive report that can then be used to inform further actions. So if you are watching this and it is prior to September 30th, the next workshop is going to be September 30th at 2:30 as a part of our fall workshop series. This is where we're going to move into the process section of the assessment. And I look forward to hearing from you.